Hey everyone, boys and girls of all ages, intergalactic beings. Welcome to another episode of Drawing on the Couch. This is number 3. I am your host and resident artist, Matthew Doyle. I'm a little sick tonight, so hope you'll excuse me if I make any untoward noises into the microphone and I seem to be breathing a little heavy. It's because I am coming down with a pretty nasty cold. Anyway, the whole family has it. My kids. My oldest is the sickest right now. Anyway. So, enough about the concerns of my family's illnesses. Let's get right on with the sketch here. This is at about 2x speed. We're looking at about 30 minutes of work here. Did another goblin, of course, as I said in my previous videos. This one I actually had an idea for while I was working on the second goblin, the one that's head on, face straight at the face, front view, on the right there. I was thinking I want to do a goblin that's holding a dagger, kind of outstretched, and that's what it's going to be. So you can see here I'm just starting out with the basic shapes and just kind of lightly drawing in the shapes of the arm and the face and whatnot. I gave him kind of a Batman gauntlet look there. I'm going to keep those fins, those razor fins coming out, but they're not going to be quite so Batmanish by the time I'm done. I did struggle a little bit with the anatomy here, specifically on the arm. I do know basic anatomy on an arm, but when you haven't drawn in a long time and you haven't been practicing and you don't have reference in front of you, which is the case when I'm on the couch, I usually don't have a reference book in front of me, it can be hard to remember exactly what the muscles look like unless you're someone who draws comic art characters, whatever, every day for a living. So I did struggle a little bit with the arm here, especially the triceps and the deltoid, the shoulder. I didn't have to worry about the hand and the forearm too much because he's wearing a gauntlet, so it kind of covers the muscle lines, all the contour lines for that. You can see there I originally started out with the dagger kind of flat, pointing, so that all you saw was the edge, and I realized that's not a very strong form. So I switched it up and have it where the dagger is facing you. Basically, you can see the whole shape of the dagger rather than just the blade. Wow, I'm losing my words tonight. I'm getting old. And I'm losing my ability to come up with words. Anyway, in profile. So, all right. Another thing I think I'm going to stop doing is I'm going to stop drawing on the couch and just start using my art desk because it's just not that comfortable to draw on your lap. And it takes a lot of work to set up the camera and all that, the tripod and all that stuff before I start to draw. And, I realize I don't have to record everything, but I'm trying to do this for a couple of reasons. For one, I want to document the process of drawing every day and getting better at it. And I also want to do it for your benefit so you can learn possibly from me. Yeah, I guess. And so the problem is, though, doing all that, it requires a lot of setup. And again, it's just not that comfortable to draw on the couch on your lap. So I'm going to use my art table. I had my art table with my 3D printer on it and a scanner, so I wasn't using it as a drawing table. And it shows you how long it's been since I've used it to draw. So I got all that off, put it somewhere else, and I've got my drawing table now set up with my light, and I've got a permanent tripod positioned next to it with the camera. And I think what I'm going to do is either record from it or do live streams. Either or. I can do both. I've got 2 cameras pointing at it. I got one that points at me, and then I have one overhead camera that you'll be able to see the drawing. And that'll make it a little bit easier. All I have to do is sit down at the table and start drawing. I also started collecting all the art supplies I'm going to need. I've got all my inks and pens and different pencils and erasers, all that in a tackle box now. It's an art box, but it looks like a tackle box, and that makes it easier. So I'm not looking, where's that eraser? Where's that pencil? Where's the mechanical one? Where's yada yada yada? So now it's going to be a lot easier. I try to make it easy on yourself when you want to draw. Don't be looking for your supplies and stuff. You really need to have your studio set up so that it's just sit down, make art, and don't stress. Still, there's the stress of streaming and making a video. It does add a little bit of stress, but I kind of like it because what's an artist without an audience? And if I'm sitting in here drawing by myself, no one's watching, and it's just just missing that one core element of being an artist is having an audience. So And I know I can just post this stuff on Instagram, and I probably will start doing that. I have an Instagram account, and I haven't really started using it, but I'm going to start posting my finished pieces on Instagram, and you guys will be able to go there and check it out. Well, by the way, also, as I've said earlier, I'm not going to be doing monetization anymore on my videos. I just get a bad taste in my mouth from using advertisements. So rather than that, I'll be doing my Patreon. Of course, if you'd like to stop by, it's at patreon.com/MatthewDoyleArt. And just like the YouTube channel. And any support you guys can offer will be greatly appreciated by me. And I'll be using any proceeds I get from there to buy more art supplies and make more videos. So there's that. And also, I use that PayPal Pay Me thing or whatever. It's like, I don't know. I'll look that up, tell you guys later, but you can always make a one-time donation to me there. Basically like a tip. So if you guys are, happy with what I'm doing, I definitely will appreciate any support you guys have for me. And I think I'm going to set up a Amazon store too, where, if you guys are just checking out Amazon one day and you feel like, buying something, if you go use my link instead, it'll give me a little bit of a cut, so that is another way to support me. Anyway, I haven't set that up yet. I do have an account, but I need to figure out how that works, and then maybe in the next video I'll post that link in the next video description. In the meantime, just sit back, relax, enjoy the rest of this drawing. Got another 8 minutes or so to go. And yeah, so you can see here I am struggling a little bit with the triceps, the back of the arm. There are 3 muscles there. That's why it's called triceps, and they connect with the cartilage that goes over the elbow, which leads to the forearm, of course. The elbow connected to the forearm. I'm using it kind of a traditional shading here, like comic style shading, not traditional, where you just draw lines, shading lines rather than filling it in. I like to do both. Sometimes I like to do comic style shading. It's the kind of shading that an inker would then come back and ink over. And then sometimes I like to do more realistic shading, where you just do a full, put the pencil on its side and shade from dark to light. That's the more traditional style of shading, and that's where you're going to get your more realistic looking shading. Obviously, with the comic style shading with the lines and hatching is not realistic. It's more of a graphical style of shading. But I like to do both. I like to do comic art, and I also like to do realistic stuff. A little bit of a Renaissance man, I guess. But you can see there the delts. That's basically 3 large muscles. I'm pretty sure it's just 3. There might be some minor ones underneath that I can't remember, but the 3 main muscles of the delts kind of form a triangle as they go to the rest of the arm. And the triceps, again, I did struggle a little bit, so they're not perfect. Don't use this sketch as an absolute correct anatomical reference for the arm. But anyway, it achieves the purpose. It achieves the purpose. I had some issues too with the rib cage, the serratus muscles and the abdomen muscles there. Again, it's just a matter of practice, right? I haven't been drawing characters much lately. It's been a while. I used to draw them all the time, and when you get out of practice, you just start forgetting stuff like that. But the more you do it, obviously, the more you'll remember. Good to have a reference book close by, and since I was on the couch, I didn't have one. I was watching TV, just kind of fiddling around, so I'm going to put kind of a crown / armor on this guy. Now, I want to apologize. Obviously, there was a skip there. My battery had run out on the GoPro, so I had to switch it out. I switched out the battery, but I forgot to hit record, so you guys missed about, 5 minutes of me darkening some of the lines, basically, and starting to shade it in. Now, I changed my mind on the comic shading, kind of. I'm doing kind of a blend between comic-style shading and realistic shading here, because you can still see, some of the sketch lines, the graphical shading lines, but you can see here I also started to do a little more realistic fill-ins on this character. I do like how this guy's coming out. He looks pretty cool. I like the pose for the most part. Just a little stiff. It's a little stiff, but that, again, it is just a sketch, and it gives me kind of an idea if I ever want to do this guy again in a larger format. What I'm designing some of the elements, like the wrist here, the gauntlet. I like the way that looks, and that the dagger and whatnot, and just kind of the look of the character. When you're sketching, you're not necessarily trying to come up with a beautiful, perfect, finished piece. You're just kind of sketching ideas out, really. And that's what I was doing here. But yeah, so I drew some kind of hand wraps on him there. Decided to kind of do some like cloth hand wraps coming out of the gauntlet, kind of after the fact. Now I'm just detailing the knuckles there, showing where the light ends on the top of his hand and then where his fingers wrap around. But it's not too shabby. He's a little skinny, but he is a goblin. He is a goblin after all. But he's a little skinny in the waist. Yeah. So you can see there I'm going from light to dark, just kind of shading. Rather than the comic style shading method, I just started to abandon that and go straight on with the traditional shading. My pencil's kind of dull at this point, so I don't have to turn it on the side as much. And it allows me to get that shaded look without, as I said, going on the side of the pencil. But he looks pretty cool at this point. About to wrap him up, about to be done with him here. Cool. I didn't like how it was sticking out there at the bottom, so I just erased it and fixed it. You can see that because I was drawing pretty dark already, that it started, it's leaving behind marks now when I erase. So, yeah. It's better to fix that stuff before you start getting dark, because now it's got to be either whited out or, whatever. But this is a sketch, so I'm not too worried about it, right? It's not gonna be a final piece that I put up on my website or anything like that. I feel like I did the lines around his crown a little too dark too. The shadow lines, they're a little too regular and dark, and they don't quite fit. They can always be fixed with an eraser too. This is a good point to use an electrical eraser, because the electrical erasers do a pretty good job of erasing. They basically vibrate the eraser really fast, and I do have a couple of those. I was just using the kneaded eraser tonight, but normally I'd pull out that electrical eraser. It does a really nice job. Anyway, so that's about it for this guy. Just kind of fiddling around with him now, trying to figure out what I want to do with the arm on the other side of his body. I ultimately didn't really do much with it, but I hope you guys have enjoyed this, another episode of Drawing on the Couch. And I said I was going to do it every day, but it's only been like 3 times in a week. So I got to build up to it. I got to get myself back in the habit. And life, just there's a lot of things going on, so it's really hard sometimes to find the time to sit down and do this when you're not getting paid to do it. Anyway, but like I said, I hope you guys have enjoyed watching and learned anything, something from my rambling. Again, I apologize for any noises I'm making because I'm sick, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. Cool. All right. Well, I think that's going to about do it for this episode. I hope you guys will drop by next time. As always, please check out the Patreon at Matthew Doyle Art if you'd like to help me buy more art supplies or anything like that, or just show your appreciation for these videos. I'm just going to keep churning them out as often as I can and keep drawing. So I hope you guys out there and gals have a great week and weekend and holiday season, taking some time off from work. We'll see you guys next time.